The inside story on the issues that affect you and your community. This is Local 12 Newsmakers.
Good morning and welcome to Local 12 Newsmakers. I'm Dan Hurley. Last Thursday, April the 30th, marked the 40th anniversary of the collapse of the South Vietnamese government and the final withdrawal of the United States from Saigon. With a successful campaign against Da Nang in March 1975 and its fall on April the 3rd, it was clear that the days of the United States presence were numbered. On that day, at the request of multiple child-carrying agencies operating in the South, President Gerald Ford approved what came to be known as the baby lift. Over the next 3.5 weeks, until Tan Son Nhut Airport was closed by advancing North Vietnamese troops, planes loaded with young children who had been living in orphanages took off for relocation to the United States and other allied countries. During the airlift, nearly 2,500 children were removed from Vietnam. The baby lift was the heart-rending and controversial program. I am joined this morning by Sister Kateri Koverman, a Sister of Charity of Cincinnati. 40 years ago, Sister Kateri served with Catholic Relief Services in Vietnam and was involved with the baby lift. She has also served in other war-torn areas, including Ethiopia and El Salvador. As a psychotherapist, Sister Kateri is very involved with treating veterans suffering from post-traumatic stress syndrome. And through her organization called Them Bones Veterans Community, she keeps working in that area. Welcome to Newsmakers.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, how long were you in Vietnam?
I was there for 3.5 years, 2 different times, a year the first time and then 2.5 years the second time.
What would have drawn you? Was that something you volunteered for? Was that something your congregation asked you to do? What drew you?
I was in graduate school at Catholic University in Washington, D.C., and the head of CRS came to the
Catholic Relief Services
and said that the Army needed social workers, because they had no trained people at that time, to work with them jointly. And I thought, I'd like to do that. I'd like to do that. So it took about a year for me to get permission from the community. They weren't very eager about it. But I went in January of 1975.
Okay. And then at some point, you started working with the children in some of the orphanages, is that right?
Yes. October of 1974, we got word that the adoption was going to start. It was general adoption, and they needed somebody to run the program. So I got moved over to that program. And we had not large institutions that we were responsible for. So I went to the countryside of Flout. The Army flew me out to them, and I picked up children that orphanages wouldn't be able to keep if the Viet Cong or the North Vietnamese took over. The Amerasian children, the children who...
So particularly the Amerasian children,
yes.
Children who were fathered in most cases
right.
by American soldiers,
right.
Okay.
And by the time of October, November, December, January, that was a general program, and the children went out by 5, 8, 12. Then by February, we started getting a lot of children because the North began moving down, and as the provinces fell, the director sent some of the children down to us. So we had 100 kids. And then when President Ford and the president of the South Vietnamese government decided to have the airlift, that's when we started to really fight in full swing.
Before we have some video of some airlift, a baby lift, and you'll see it. You can see it on the screen here. Very moving. But the very first plane that took off with young children on it crashed about 12 minutes into the flight, killing 138 people. What did that do to you and to others who were going to be involved in this incredible effort, this baby lift?
It was devastating. I had to put it on the back shelf because we were leaving the next day.
The next day, so you were really close. Okay.
Right. We were scheduled from day 1, 2, 3, 4. So I didn't sleep that night. I just thought that one of our people went out with that first flight and they were killed. And just all of that really flew in on yourself. But I just concentrated on how we're going to get how much milk and all of that. And we knew that they would start to search those things because they thought it was a sabotage of the flight. It wasn't known to be a result of a decompression of, so.
It was a mechanical failure. So the children that you went on with your flight.
I didn't go on the flight. I put Ann Darlene and our people on it.
Okay. So what were the age ranges here of the children? Because in that video that we just saw, we saw everybody from infants to maybe children who were 3, 4. What's the range?
We were told the day of the first flight to send our healthiest, best prepared darlings. And I didn't. I said, we're going to send out the kids that we need the most help with. And they were the burn kids, the polio kids. We had 10 little boys that were 6 to 8 years old. They were black. And those were the kids that we really felt if they were still there, they would have a hard time. So we sent them, so that would have been 6, 7-year-olds down to 2 months.
Down to 2 months. Wow. And then, so when did you actually leave then?
I think it was about April 26th.
So very close to the end.
We were the last flight out for the orphan airlift because of the fighting that was going on in the airport.
At the time and later, there were some people who raised questions about taking so many children from Vietnam. Was that a problem for you? Was that a struggle for you?
It wasn't originally when it was orderly. And we knew who the children were. They were all orphans. The last 2, 3 days, our flight, they just came in, just swamped in. And the stories that you heard of parents who couldn't get out, but they wanted their child to get out. And I mean, I really was torn, but I had to say, what would Jesus do with this? What would he do? So we took him and sent him out.
Over the years, have you been able to stay in touch?
I have. We've had 2 times when the children came, children that we knew addresses on. Once when they were 12 years old, their parents came with them. Then when they were around 26, 27, and we're having the 40th anniversary this summer, July the 17th, 18th, and 19th, and we're going to have the chance to share.
Will that be here in Cincinnati?
It will.
Will be at
Mount St. Joseph.
At Mount St. Joseph. And we're going to put up all the contact information about how people can get in touch with you if they know somebody, because you haven't been able to maintain touch with everybody, right?
There were years when I didn't do anything on this. I was involved in the flight in Africa. So I lost probably 12, 13 years that I didn't have contact with them. So a lot of the addresses that I send notes out to come back that it no longer exists. So
okay. So maybe this is an opportunity.
I hope so.
To get back in touch. You have also, you've been in all these various places that I mentioned early on and you just referenced, working in war-torn places on a variety of things. But you've also been working very hard with veterans back here, American veterans back here. And the organization that you run is called Them Bones Veteran Community. Where does the name come from? What's that a reference to?
It comes from the book of Ezekiel. Ezekiel's told to go out to the desert, and what does he see? He sees dead bones, and he's told to pray over them, and he prays, and the rattling starts happening, and the bones come together. The song came, them bones, them bones, and it says, and the bones rose up as a vast new army. And I believe in working with the guys who, and girls now especially, many of them can be like dry bones walking, just wondering where do we go? And sometimes they get in trouble. So I work primarily now with the guys that are in the Justice Center. There's a pod just for veterans.
And what are the challenges, what are the rewards of that work?
Oh gee, the challenges are just to listen to them, and take them where they are, and hopefully a little bit further. But if you listen to them where they are, and hope that you can go a little bit further, it's what happens. And I'm 72, and they look at me as grandmother, but we have a worthwhile time when I go.
So this focus on veterans has become really the focus of your life. And how often are you down at the Justice Center?
I have a group on Wednesday and also on Friday. Used to have one on Thursday, but was canceled by the government,
The sheriff?
The sheriff, because there are not enough rovers to go get the people. So it's a financial thing. But those 2 days, I'm glad I'm there.
So it's group work?
It is.
It's group work rather than individual work?
I do individual after I have the group work, but it's mostly group.
Yeah. Well, I want to make sure people know how to get in touch with you, both for the return for this summer of the children from Vietnam, but also if somebody's watching who is a veteran or knows a veteran who might benefit from being in touch. So if you would like to contact Sister Kateri through Them Bones Veteran Community online, it's themboneveteran.org, or by email at aboveashes@aol.com, or you can call 513-366-4426. Thank you very much for your work. It's been a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you.
And it's a long career of really serving.
Thank you.
Stay tuned. After the break, we continue our focus on veterans and a new privately funded program for higher education. Welcome back. We continue our focus this morning on the place of veterans in American society and in Cincinnati. Ohio ranks 6th in the United States with about 900,000 veterans statewide, about 10,000 in greater Cincinnati area alone. We know from the experience of World War II veterans that nothing was more impactful than the educational benefits that were attached to the GI Bill of Rights. 2.2 million individual veterans transformed their own and their families' prospects by attending college. Collectively, the massive investment in higher education transformed the American economy and society. The role of education in helping veterans transition back into society and enlarge their prospects remains critical today. The Union Institute is a 51-year-old institution and is headquartered in Walnut Hills, but has always had a unique learning format. I am joined this morning by Dr. Roger Sublett, the president of the Union Institute and University. Dr. Sublett is the leader in the field of adult education and lifelong learning. He is also a senior scholar at the Center for Ethical Leadership in Seattle, Washington. Welcome to Newsmakers.
Thank you. My pleasure to be here.
Even though you've been around for 51, not you necessarily, at Union Institute anyway, the Union Institute and the University has been around for 51 years. Some people wouldn't know it. And it does have, if not unique, an interesting approach that is a little bit different than what people might know about.
Absolutely, and I want to comment on the GI Bill of Rights and how it transformed higher education very briefly, leading to the community college movement in the 1950s. And actually, Union Institute emerged from that in the 1960s, and part of the whole revolution of the 60s, when about 10 university presidents, mostly liberal arts folks, decided that higher education was not meeting the needs of adult learners, and they wanted to create a new institution, and they created the Consortium for Research and Experimentation in Higher Education to look at different ways of obtaining degrees. And in many ways, those early founders anticipated the internet before the technology existed. And so every conceivable and innovative way they could imagine to help students obtain their degrees or to complete their learning objectives by distance, they implemented them. So it's truly a remarkable.
So this whole idea of distance learning, and that's why I said the Institute is headquartered in Walnut Hills,
right,
but you have students all over the United States, right?
Students all over the United States and a few internationally. But I think we probably have students in about 46 states around. And we also have academic centers in Brattleboro, Vermont, North Miami Beach, Florida, Sacramento, California, and Los Angeles. And our headquarters are here in Cincinnati.
So now that the technology does exist, the internet,
right,
some of this can happen that way, but you also bring students for many of your programs. There also is a residence component where people come together face to face and have a chance to interact as well, right?
That's correct. Students can actually select a few degree programs that are totally online, and they would not ever have to come to campus to complete their degrees. But it's really more accurate to describe our programs as hybrid programs in combining online learning with low residencies. And particularly in our doctoral programs, we bring students to Cincinnati twice a year in January and July for about a 7 to 9 day period. And that's true in our undergraduate programs as well. Adult students like to have options and choices. Some of our adult students like a traditional classroom setting. If they like that, they have that option. If they want to have totally online, they can do that, or they can mix the two.
You have this new program based on a grant that you received. So this gives you, and this is private dollars, gives you an opportunity to reach out specifically to veterans. What's the goal here? What are you trying to do? Who are you really trying to reach?
Well, I think we're trying to honor men and women who have served in the military and served this country well. We're trying to provide them an opportunity to complete their education because many of them had their education interrupted by their military service. And Union offers a very flexible program. We offer excellent counseling and monitoring, and we work with each individual. Adult learners are unique in that they want to identify their needs. They want you to listen respectfully to those needs. They want high quality programs, and they want an institution to create almost a one-to-one relationship with them. And we're able to do that through our outreach program to the veterans. What I'm really pleased about is that we're able to offer through this private grant of about $293,000, a $7,500 living stipend for these veterans, which important to them and their families means that they can complete their degree program through Union Institute and University generally without going into debt. And I know that the cost of higher education is a major issue in America today, and this is one way that Union can reach out to help this population particularly.
Is this targeted at veterans who are trying to complete or begin or whatever an undergraduate program, or is this people who are after a graduate degrees, which you offer a whole host of graduate degrees, or who's eligible for this particular?
Well, actually, a vet could apply for all of our programs, undergraduate, master's, or doctoral programs. The fact of the matter is most of them are interested in our undergraduate program. They're degree completion students.
Okay.
And so far, the interest has been mostly in emergency service management, criminal justice management. They're interested in leadership development, business management administration, social work and psychology. At the master's level, we have a fairly new, totally online Masters of Science in Organizational Leadership, and a lot of the veterans have expressed interest in that, those who have their undergraduate degree completed.
Especially that whole theme of leadership, which is one of the reasons that I cited your connection out in Seattle as well.
Yes.
Not to mention the fact that I run Leadership Cincinnati.
Right.
Always getting a plug in. I can see where that experience in the military, where there's so much stress about leadership and the role of leadership and what it means, flows very nicely into that.
Absolutely, and you know, Frances Hesselbein, who for many years worked with the Peter Drucker Foundation in New York, has worked very closely with the military, and she indicates actually that the U.S. military has some of the best leadership training programs in the country. And so when the veterans come into Union, they have an understanding of leadership. They have an understanding of a lot of training programs which the American Council on Education actually has assessed, and so that we can take those assessments, look at an individual, and work out a very flexible transfer or prior learning assessment in order to move them forward to their degree program. So in fact, a good many of our students, I don't know all of them, but a good many of them may be able to complete their undergraduate degree in about a year.
There's also something, as I was reading about this, an online veterans center.
That's correct.
With some specialized opportunities if a person needs some help in a particular area or whatever, and some counseling or some work on writing. As a teacher myself, I know that those are very important areas.
Absolutely, and we have actually two coordinators that we were able to employ through the grant. And we've created both an on-site center here in Cincinnati and a virtual center. And so the veterans, if they want to come into the office, they can do so. And Jerry Maples, who is our on-site coordinator here in Cincinnati, does a great job in working with them individually, because Jerry understands the daily life and challenges of a veteran. She is the wife of a disabled Iraqi veteran. And so she's very empathetic with these individuals, and she understands the issues. Beyond that, the university has invested in a Center for Teaching and Learning, which also provides writing skills, academic assessments, and counseling for all of our students, but particularly our veterans. And then we have an Office for Student Success, looking at career counseling and placement services. And in our Veterans Center, they've developed a 7-step process, which I won't go through all of it, but one of it is the flexible transitioning to college. It's career counseling. There are career transition monthly seminars. So there are any variety of services, and we're very proud of those.
In that area of transitioning into the workforce after a degree, I noticed that part of the literature references help identifying, connecting to veteran-friendly businesses.
That's correct.
Why is that even necessary? Or what are we talking about there?
Well, I think it's probably, Jerry is trying to reach out to, certainly in Cincinnati, in the greater Cincinnati area, to all of the businesses to make them aware that this program exists and that we are producing quality graduates that can help them be successful in whatever their endeavors are. I don't know that it's necessarily essential. I think most employers recognize all of our collective responsibilities to our veterans and for the men and women who have served, and so far I would say most people have been extremely positive and supportive and encouraging to Union, and particularly to Jerry and our veterans.
Well, let me make sure that people know how to get in touch with these
Sure.
services and with Jerry. To learn more about the Veterans Program that is offered by the Union Institute and University, go to myunion.edu, and that's the general
That's correct.
website, but /military if you want to go directly, or call Jerry Maples, who's been referenced many times here, the program coordinator here in Cincinnati, at 513-487-1103, or there's an 800 number, 800-861-6400, extension 1103. You sound really excited about this, and we're just about out of time. Am I reading you right? Is this a great new initiative?
It's a great new initiative, and it's only the first of many that you're going to hear from Union in the next few years.
Okay. Thank you for being here. Thank you for the work you're doing.
Thanks, Dan. My pleasure.
Thanks for making Newsmakers a part of your Sunday morning. Join us again next week when we'll be joined by Maura Weir, the head of the Hamilton County Job and Family Services. Our topic will be the system that supervises dependent children in this county. Have a good week.